Hello, my name is Brother Reggie, and this is a review on the book, A Contribution to the Debate on the Meaning of the Place Name Kemet. This video presentation is a review of page 53 of the book, A Contribution to the Debate on the Meaning of the Place Name Kemet. The book was prepared for the ASCAC International Conference held in New York 2019 by the Shimshu Heru Research Group. After the publication, I made the first critique of the publication on YouTube. I chose page 53 to point out some issues and concerns. Disclaimer. This video is prepared to be put on Baba TV for educational purposes. Baba TV is not responsible at all for the views of Reggie Mabry. Reggie Mabry is presenting materials that may be under copyright for the purposes of educational and public critique. He is using materials under fair use, commentary, and criticism. Page 53. In my opinion, page 53 is a perfect point page 53 is a perfect point and is the purpose of this presentation. It is this page that had tested our character and scholarship and skills more than any other chapter in the book. Can we critique? Can we correct? Can we apologize for our mistakes? Will we deny our mistakes? Will we gang around points and dismiss criticism? Will we challenge our elders? Will we remain civil? Will we agree to disagree? Are we ready, or do we need more training? My points on page 53 are simple. Is it footnoted properly? Is it accurate? Can it stand up for debate and scrutiny? Because this is a publication to prove a point. That was the purpose of this publication. Their purpose is to prove that Kemet does not mean black people, or does it mean riparian land? Many of the issues can be easily fixed, but the question is, can we do this without ego? It is a book for purchase, and I purchased it. I have a right to review it because I am in the actual debate on the subject. The origin and meanings of the place name Kemet, the origin and meanings of the word Kemet. I am involved in this debate. Debates are not supposed to be personal. It's a show of information around opposing thoughts. Let's take a quick look at page 53. For the part that I want to show that is in dispute and that I am evaluating, the author of this particular chapter says that Kemet is a settlement of a tribus without a footnote. Km.T means those relating to Kemet, residents of Kemet, a tribus. He says we draw further attention to the above example Kemet, which is the short form of Kemet Weret or Kemet Ware. And he cites a dictionary, a German dictionary called the Waterbush. But he does not footnote where he got this citation from the Waterbush. He got the citation from the TLA. And we will talk about that further. He says that he gives the ancient Egyptian or Medu Neter standard for the tenth known of Lower Egypt. He says this area is also known as a tribus from the Greek, Coptic, so named for its temple complex, Hawat Eri Ib. He gives a citation again to the Waterbush Dictionary, which he got from the TLA. In the pyramid text of Nice, pyramid text 674, we read Now, in this case, the author is a Meta Nature scholar, and he most likely translated from the transliterations. So we are reading from his expert translation. The mourner will call you as a Set, the jubileer will cheer you as Nebhet. You will stand before the shrines of men, you will stand before those of Atribis as Apis, you will stand in the wide lake as Sokir. He says in this passage, the Dinamen Km.T refers to the inhabitants of Atribis. He cites Faulkner, 1969, 288 and 327 as pages, Hannings, 1995, page 883, not to be mistaken for the entire kingdom of Kemet, known as the 11th dynasty. Later in the Edfu, at the Ptolemaic temple of Heru, there are references to inhabitants of Kemet by the Dinamen, Km.T. And then he says, see table 6 for more examples of Dinamens. And he gives the table. I didn't include the table because that's not what I'm critiquing. Now, my initial critique was that Kim Ware and Kemet Weret means the Great Black. And the author chose not to translate that out. I questioned the author why Kemet, a settlement of Atribis, was not footnoted. Excuse my spelling error. Why is Km.T translated as Atribis? We see here that the author makes Kemet a settlement of Atribis and Km.T also those of Atribis. Where's the footnote? So let me just go over all the parts that I want to talk about. Now, I have a research partner. His name is Netcher Neb, and he also pointed out a number of issues. I will talk about some of his issues, but my initial critique was why the author did not use Kemet Weret and show that it means the Great Black. Because when he's translating on the second line, when he says, you will stand before the shrines as men, you will stand before those of Atribis at Apis, he inserts, instead of Km.T, Atribis. The major problem that I initially had, and still have, with this is that he doesn't translate out Kemet Weret, which means Great Black, because all three authors of this particular book is saying that Kemet means farmland, riparian land, a place of water and grass. Yet, if you looked at Kim Ware and you look at what it means, you see that they are talking about, the ancient Egyptians are talking about their religious beliefs or cultish beliefs that has to deal with the cult of the Great Black Bull. So we know that Kim, in this context, has everything to do with black because it's saying Kim Ware, Great Black, and we're going to see why. And so instead of him relating Km.T that has the same I6 glyph, which is that charcoal, which is the charcoal glyph right here, he seems to separate the fact that this charcoal glyph has something to do with Km.T. So he uses a later term, Greek, a Greek word of Hawat Hiri Ib for Atribis. In this case, he never even goes to say what Hawat Hiri Ib means, and it means here, it means a temple in the middle right? Basically, the temple in the middle. It could be Hawat Iriib, temple land in the middle, right? But when you say that Km.T actually is a trebus, there's a major problem. There's a chronology problem, and that is also something that Netanyahu pointed out, and I pointed out that why would you take an ancient Egyptian word, Km.T, that was found at least 2,000 years earlier, and use a trebus, the Greek. And this is these writers are writers who are supposed to be experts in ancient Egyptian culture. And so, and why would you not say Kim Ware has anything black, has anything to do with black? And why would you not footnote your sources? And we're going to talk about the authors feel that this is properly footnoted, but what we are saying is that it may be in a Waterbush, but he didn't get it from the Waterbush dictionary. He got it from the TLA. The authors are saying that they don't have to quote the TLA, and we are in dispute about that. And so we are saying that you must quote the TLA, even though what he is saying exists in here, and that if you quoted the TLA, you would give the reader of this publication a way in which to go and see the actual information that was in there, and you will, and that would allow them to decide and have and give them more ability to analyze what is going on, and certainly again to not show that Kim Ware, translate Kim Ware as the great black is problematic, because here he translates the Medunecha. There's the Medunecha, there's the transliterations, and he does a translation. Why would he not do a translation of Kim Ware? And of course, here, instead of Km.T, he puts in the Greek word atrebus. Now, of course, we go and check, and there's lots of places to check, but I checked the lines of his translation, and his lines are acceptable. Here is the European. This word Senet salutes thee is what he is saying, the mourners, right? It translates to mourners. And then he says, and then this writer says, Henet acclaims thee like Nephthys. And so he is on this particular line right here, using this word Henti, right? And this is the jubileers, the cheerers. That is what he's doing there, and this author is using Isis instead of a set, which is the European translation of Aset is Isis, and Nephthys is Nephet. That's acceptable for Europeans. They can do that. That's what they do. Then it goes, thou standest at the head of the silhouette of the double palace like men. So here's the word, the silhouette, and basically it seems to be the shrines of men. I don't have a problem with that. Then over here, the European translator says that thou standest at the head of the Egyptians, and in this case, Km.T is they translate Km.T as Egyptians, like happy. And then he says that thou standest at the Pedus like seeker, and the Pedus is the white lake. So there is his translations is acceptable except for a trebus, where he could have said Km.T, and he could have just wrote Km.T and then put in a trebus, or show other variations of Km.T that may point and give us more information about Km.T. Now, in the UNESCO conference, the DIAP, where the symposium of the peopling of ancient Egypt and the deciphering of the Meroitic script, where Sheikh Anta Diop and Dr. Theophilo Benga had this discussion with several other scholars, Abdullah and Sanaran, and another scholar. Sheikh Anta Diop made the case that Kemet meant black people, Negroes, because he speaks French, and that Km.T was a Nesby, a word derived from a noun, right? And that would be those of the black Egyptians, or the Negroes, or that the ancient Egyptians were black people. So all this is in dispute, and the writers of this article know that these terms are in dispute, but he makes this conclusion. Okay, so then he continues on with some other information. I'm not going to talk about that in the information, because I'm not disputing that. What I am directly disputing is Kim Ware and his translation of Km.T to Atrebus, and his lack of citing that Netanyahu has criticized, and that Netanyahu says it's the TLA and you must use the TLA if you are going to use the TLA. And the authors say that they cited this properly, they don't have to use the TLA, and that they already used the TLA in the book before, so they don't have to footnote it here. So I'm just going to go and continue. Now, for this chapter, the author gives his bibliography, and clearly he shows where he's quoting from, which is the Waterbush. I'm not going to try to speak German, right? So in his bibliography, he puts the Waterbush, but he doesn't put the TLA. Now, he also puts the Waterbush, but he says, basically his volumes or books 1 through 4 so he is not specifically showing where that he got it from the TLA, but this is telling you where in the Waterbush it is. Now, I'm going to give you some more information to help you. Now, to defeat their argument that it was cited, the TLA was cited before, and because it was cited before, it doesn't have to be cited there, that is a non-argument, because the lead author, Asar Imhotep, is the lead author. He cites the TLA here for this chart, and he cites specifically for what he is talking about. In the bibliography of that chapter, he says the websites that he's using, but here he's saying where he got this information from directly. The lead author also, in another section here, citation number 42, footnote 42, we find out here that he quotes exactly where he got the information from the TLA. And you will see the TLA here, right here, the TLA. So the lead author is very, very careful about letting the reader know where he got the information from, and I commend him. The other author says that the TLA was mentioned, so he doesn't have to mention it. Anyone who says that the TLA, since it was already mentioned, that this author does not have to use the TLA or cite the TLA is disingenuous and wrong, and being an apologist for this not being footnoted. And this could be a form of, one, plagiarism, and two, dishonest scholarship, because we are not so sure that the author of this chapter actually went to the water bush and read it. And then if he did read it in a water bush, it is in German. The TLA is a great resource because it allows you, it translates the dictionary in both, it allows you to see the dictionary both in English and in German. And so to read accurately the water bush, you would have to be a German speaker. The TLA relieves you of that because in Google and in the website, Google Chrome and in the website, it allows you to translate the German. Okay? So let's continue. Okay. So as again, my debate partner, Netchaneb, noticed that it was in the TLA. Now, when you go to the TLA, right, just to rule out and discredit any of the commenters who say that it does not have to be, or the TLA does not have to be credited, and that the TLA is just a website, that's not accurate. First of all, when you go to the TLA, the login, it asks you for a user ID and a password, and it says this: I have read and do accept the regulations on use and copyright. And once you log in as guest, you can click this and then you can log in. So by accepting this, you're saying that you accept the regulations. What are the regulations? One of the regulations, it says, citing from the TLA. For the purposes of citing from the TLA, we suggest using the abbreviation TLA, right? The form of electronic publication offers a decisive advantage, and that allows for the thesaurus to be continuously and seamlessly complemented, extended, and revised. It is in this sense that the TLA is a dynamic publication, so it's a publication. And it's precisely for this reason that it's not possible to guarantee constant reproduction of search results over a long period of time. Hence, it's important to indicate which version of the TLA a particular citation refers to. Although older database versions are no longer accessible on the internet, they have been archived for the project group, for that particular project group of the Waterbush, so that the citations for these various continue to be verifiable. So the TLA is saying that if you're going to use the product, it's best to follow this particular format. So owing to the fact that citations on the TLA cannot be looked up directly, it is recommended to cite passages using the reference given in the TLA. Subsequently, such a citation of a text segment may be followed by the citation of the interpretation found in the TLA by indicating the name of the author in TLA version, month, or year, right? Many authors simply copy and paste the link of the address of where they get it from, so that I'm not saying that it's acceptable, but many authors want you to actually see where they got it from instead of putting in the version, month, or year. for the citation. So this is their formal citation. The author, Asar Imhotep, left the link to let you look up directly where it is. That is acceptable. In both cases, they are at least citing the TLA. The author here, who does not speak German, does not include the TLA, and so sends the user to the Waterbush. One, you have to have, it's a research book, so you usually have to go to a research library to get this book. It's very expensive to buy. It's in German, and usually only very, very advanced scholars go directly to the Waterbush. The TLA is an acceptable tool to actually use. Okay, so we have to ask the questions, why is the author saying that it was cited already in the TLA when we see specific citations of the TLA to very particular materials and not to his material? And just simply citing the TLA as a website doesn't help you because you're not looking at specific material. So here, for the visitors of this particular presentation, I have put up the TLA for some information that he talked about. So particularly Km.T where and Km.T whereat. So here is the TLA, what the TLA says for the Kim where, and the translation is that it means the greater black is the tense known, right, and the capital of Atribis. Big black one, tense known of Lower Egypt, and then it says where it is in the Waterbush dictionary, and that it's a place name. And it gives you some more information, and then it allows you to actually see different images of this, at least this form of Kimware, the Great Black, which is referring to a pool or a lake in the area. So here we can see if the TLA was properly cited in English, we can see Great Black for Kimware. The Europeans don't hide this point, and proper citations will reveal more information as to what Kim means in this context, which it means black in this context. The source would, this source right here would dispute his point that Km.T simply means Atribis when there's more information about Atribis, and the users would know that even Hawat Heri Ib is not attested in the Old Kingdom. It's attested later, and the author doesn't even spell out what Hawat Heri Ib means. Again, it means temple in the center, or temple in the center of the land. So here, I don't think that there should be any dispute that using the TLA would give you more information, and you will see that the TLA tells you that Kimware means the greater black, or the big black one, and that black is an essential part of this area, because in this temple, Hawat Eriyib, they are worshiping the great black one, or the great black. They are worshiping this bull, and here it is in the. This is what it looks like when it's identified, and it also could be called Kakim, which is the black bull. Okay, so the way that the author set this up is lacking information, and he's going to do it for his conclusion, and I'll show you why he's doing it. So over here, here is the address to the TLA for Hawat Harry Ib. And one of the things that we want to see here is how it actually, is it attested? We would like to see if a trebus at all is attested. And here it says no attestments for a trebus. Trebus is a modern, it's a more of a modern in the chronology. It's a Greek word for Hawat Harry Ib. And he doesn't deny that, he doesn't deny the Greek, and he doesn't deny the Coptic, but the problem is that you're not going to find Hawat Harry Ib in the Old Kingdom, and Necher Neb, who is my debate partner, has said this often. So to find out what Km.T may mean, it would be best to look at what Kimware is, and Kimware is the Great Black. Now, I looked up one of the attestations, meaning on one of the things that we would like to do is we would like to look at how the word is used instead of just looking at words. And so we have this, the Medu Neter here of Kim Neter, Kim Ware. And the TLA says the black bull in the Gulf of Trebus from Edfu, Edfu 7. And then we get actually to see the attestations for this lemma, and it says, I have come to you, O divine bull in the district of Trebus. Again, a trebus is a later word for an area that is in the 10th nome of Lower Egypt, which is the Great Black. So I've come to you, O divine bull, in the district of this temple, Hawat Harry Ib, which is in the 10th nome, which is the Great Black, with a beautiful figure whose sight one is pleased to glorify as loud as I can, and I glorify your Ka, and praise for you are the large falcon with tremendous force, with large reputation among protecting gods. Enjoy. So, the issue is, though the Europeans use a trebus, black scholars are always concerned about Europeanizing terms and words to disguise places. A trebus is acceptable in some publications, but you could have said, "Oh, divine bull." You could say, "Oh, divine bull," in the district of. Well, let's see what it says over here. So it says over here. Let me just see. Okay, so Kim Neter divine bull in Kimware. So beautiful or glorify. So here they take Kimware and they translate it to a trebus, but it says over here, it says divine Neter, right? Kimware, black bull, sorry. And then you will not see here, you will not see a trebus at this, if you want to translate this out. So they're talking about Kim Neter, divine black, which in this case divine black bull, and then they say Kimware. So we know that the divine black bull, right, is in the district of Atrebus and in the district of Kimware. And here they take the liberty of translating Kimware to Atrebus. So my point is that the attestations tell you that basically we're talking about the divine, the worship of the divine black bull. Europeans have no problem with saying that, in the district of Kimware, right, in Kimware. So, and then it says over here, okay, so I pretty much said this earlier. The Europeans don't hide it. So why should a scholar making a point what Kemet means and Km.T means hide the fact that Kim in this context is dealing exactly with the color black? Okay, so at the very least, you could see this as poor scholarship, poor citations, and that may include plagiarism or dishonest scholarship. Now, the reason why I say dishonest scholarship is because if you are trying to hide something to make a point later, then it could be academic dishonesty or dishonest scholarship if you're not in the academy. And plagiarism is because if you didn't read the Waterbush, own the Waterbush, go to the library for the Waterbush, then you're simply acting as if you did because you're using the TLA as a source. So I don't know if the author has the Waterbush, turned to the page of the Waterbush, has an online version of the Waterbush, and even if he had an online version of the Waterbush, he should put the footnote of the online source of the Waterbush. He does none of that. Now, the major part of all of this is the author's conclusion. And let's read it. It says, concerning hypotheses 2, Kemet referring to black people, we understand the name of the ancient kingdom of Egypt as Kemet is a toponym, which refers to places and locations and not people. This effectively rules out the possibility of the place name Kemet referring to black people. But does it refer to black bull or the worship of the people of the black bull? At the minimum, names referring to groups of people and not places are called ethnonyms, be they ethnonym or exonymic. When referring to themselves, ancient Egyptians called themselves by their ethnonym Ramesh, no footnote, the people. To express their relationship with the kingdom of Kemet or their nation, the ancient Egyptians used the genitive phrase Remet ni Kemet. Ramesh ni Kemet, the people of Kemet. And he gives a footnote. He doesn't say where he got the footnote from, but it's there, so we don't know what author transliterate Remet ni Kemet that was able to handle the primaries. So we only know this insinuity, but if he didn't go and see the stela or the hieratic or a papyrus, then we know another person did, who is an author, who probably is a professional, makes his living, probably is pretty famous. We probably know who they were, that actually dealt with the primaries in this, but the author doesn't use that. But because he says sinewy here, he seems in his mind that he is safe. He's not safe because, again, if he didn't see it himself, then he's getting it from somewhere. He should show it, which is also preserved in Shahidic Coptic. Fine, he doesn't source that. Then he says denimens are used to express a relationship with a place or location, as in a place of origin or residence. In Egyptian, this is formed using relational adjectives, also known as nesbis, which in this case of Kemet would be rendered a variation of Km.T, or this form of Km.T, the inhabitants of Thurbis. So he misspells Thurbis, but he puts it in quotes. So if he's quoting it, who's he quoting it from, and who did the misspelling? So if he is quoting from someone and they did the misspelling, we would like to know who quoted it as Thurbis so that we can see who this author is. But if it was him, then that's problematic, because he's acting like that someone else misspelled it when it actually possibly was him. But I don't know. But I'm just speculating. But the footnote, the lack of footnoting, is problematic. Concerning hypotheses, Kemet refers in this form to black land. We come to understand that no scholar made an attempt to prove that Kemet means black using sound and established methods in the field of etymology. And then see Imhotep 2019, some publication that Saw Imhotep did. Now, there are some big problems with this. Diop Obanga, Necheneb, Brother Reggie, Dr. Mario Beatty never argued that this form, Kemet, refers to black people. There's no argument in UNESCO that this form in itself, with the Nuit, refers to black people. So the author's conclusion is concluding something that we didn't argue. And so then he says, concerning hypotheses 2. Now, the lead author told us what the hypotheses are. So let's just go to the lead author. Okay, so the lead author, hypothesis 1, comes from James P. Allen, Middle Egyptian, An Introduction to the Language and Culture of Hieroglyphics. He says the following: the word Kemet, Egypt, literally means black, referring to the soil of the Nile Valley. This is why Egyptian uses the preposition her, or rather than we, than in her. Kemet means literally on the black land. And so the lead author, Asar, is saying this is the first hypothesis, and he's basically arguing that the Kim here has nothing to do with black. It has something to do with, for him, riparian land. And here, James P. Allen is saying the black land. And Asar Imhotep is the lead scholar disputing that it means the black land, and he does that in many of his presentations that we disagree with. That's why we're having this conversation. Then it says in hypothesis 2, Km.T Diop translated the origins of ancient Egyptians, states the following: the Egyptians had only one term to designate themselves, Kemet, the Negroes. Literally, in the Egyptian language, a word or assembly is formed from an adjective or a noun, putting it in the feminine singular Kemet from the adjective Kim, black. It therefore strictly means, or at the very least, black men. The term is a collective noun which that describes the whole people of Pharaonic Egypt as a black people. And this is from Ivan Van Sertima. Right. So the issue is the Kemet that Km.T Diop is using for black people is in hypothesis 2. The Kemet referring to the place name is hypothesis 1. Asar Imhotep is disputing, as the lead scholar is disputing both of these. We are in disagreement, but I'm just simply dealing with the conclusion. So he says, concerning hypothesis 2, Kemet referring to black people. So Hypothesis 2, the Kemet is this Kemet. Hypothesis 1, the Kemet is this Kemet. And then he says, we understand the name of the ancient Egyptians, Kemet, is a toponym. Yes, it's a toponym. But Asar Imhotep, who the leading scholar of this, is saying in Hypothesis 2, he knows that Km.T Diop and Obanga, Dr. Theophile Obanga, is using this form. Necher Neb in all his presentations used this form. Nobody is arguing this form. So this form, we believe that this Kim is the same as this Kim, or Kemet, and this is also the same as identifying with Nom 10 in the Great Black, and that all these Kims are related. And the problem that we have when I'm reviewing this book is that this particular author, he seems to misplace the argument, because this Kemet refers to the people, and that's hypotheses. Concerning how, so black people is here, but the glyph is here. So he's putting in some information that is not that no one is actually arguing. So he seems to be confused about Asar's hypotheses 1 and hypotheses 2. But his statement is that this Kemet referring to black people in hypotheses 2. No one has ever made that argument that this form of Kemet refers to black people, but this form right here refers to black people. So the conclusion in this particular chapter by this particular author has several problems. It has footnote problems. It has the problems of citing the information in the footnote. Black is not ruled out in any of the footnotes. Hawat Heri Ib, as a tribus, it's disguised as if Km.T derives from a tribus, where Km.T most likely derives from this black people, or this the place of the people. In one, I will give some more information. So this author's whole presentation is defective on its face. He fails to make a claim, right, that the court of black people or the court of scholars or the intellectual community can continue with. And then, of course, there is the number of errors of Atherbis, in quotes, not footnoted. And then there is the issue of being dishonest about all of the other information. And then he's just confused here about this form right here. He's just confused. This is more than a mistake because of the skill level of this particular author. This author has skills to be able to transliterate and translate Medu Neter on his own, but his argument ruling out black people and ruling out black altogether is problematic. So his whole chapter has to be discarded. It fails to make a claim. It's defective on its face because of its conclusion. Now, Neter Neb, who's my debate partner, my good brother, argues the same as Diop on the bank and Dr. Km.T Diop and Dr. Theophile Obanga in UNESCO in 1974 in the symposium for the peopling of the Nile Valley and the deciphering of the Meroitic script, that they are arguing this. And they also argued Km.T. My work in ASCAC, I presented in ASCAC this last international conference. I brought to bear that this Kemet, which speaks to cattle, black, sick, divine cattle, is akin to these people. These people, black people, Negroes, Negroid, African people, believe in this. These people, in a later paper, I will write, deify themselves this way. So these people had a black god, and the belief is that they themselves are black cattle. Humans are black cattle. And you can see you can search YouTube, Baba TV, Brother Reggie ASCAC 29 presentation to see where I begin to make this case. Of course, I have the responsibility to write, but I have argued just for feedback, just to originate my ideas in the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilization with Dr. Mario Beatty at the 29 conference, where we saw Imhotep's presentation. We disagree with his presentation, but it was heard there, and the authors were to all present at this conference, and which included Ankh Ankh West, same person, good brother, Brother Sanjeti, who did present at the conference in place of Ujawu, Irimat, and Ankh, who did not come. However, for the record, the panel that Brother Sanjeti presented in, presenting Ujawu's information and Ankh West's presentation in the 20 minutes that he had, because the initial presenters were not coming, did not come. Dr. Mario Beatty actually canceled that whole presentation, but Brother Sanjeti was able to actually present in there, and there is a record of his presentation for the group. So, I'm going to close. The book, A Contribution to the Debate on the Meaning of the Place Name Kemet, should be dismissed on its face by the errors in the second author's statements, because the second author is misrepresenting what Diop, Obenga, Beatty, Netaneb, and Maybe argued, because the errors concern the history of black people and that there are severe citation problems in the book. Their argument should be dismissed with prejudice for the conduct and for the lack of showing the intellectual prowess. Even though they have published this book, I believe, of course, the book should be purchased and people should look at their work and look at their ideas in spite of the errors, but their argument itself should be defective on its face and dismissed because of the errors. Now, since they published the book, the discussion should not take place until the errors in the written arguments, which are for sale, right, are represented, properly edited, and it should not be put up again on Amazon for the public just to consume. It should be peer reviewed somewhere. So it should be put in a peer review process because of the dispute and because of these concerns. Because putting it in a peer review, the questions would be asked before it's even published. So it should not be put up again simply for sale. We have too many books that are put up simply for sale, and they seem to be, authoritative, uh, an authoritative piece for what the writers write, and they can say that, yeah, we published a book, it's up there, you can buy it and look at my book. The issue is, what is in the book? Is it disputable? And then simply, I started this process out by first engaging in a debate as a researcher for Netanyahu when he was debating a saw in a very, very acceptable, more than acceptable, well-known linguist channel, a Bebetumi, run by Dr. Obadeli Cambone, in front of a group of scholars. I did some research for Netanyahu, and then after that debate, I did a review or put my points as to who I thought won the debate, even though I was a researcher for Netanyahu. There was a big dispute as to, there wasn't really a big dispute as to who won the debate, but it was being spun in social media. So I again critiqued the information and my findings that Netanyahu's methodology, what Netanyahu proposed was more accurate than what Asar Imhotep did, because in that particular piece, you can find it somewhere on the channel of Amin Ra Squad Media, I believe. You can find my comments. The issue is, my comments were around the feminine T, and that has to do with Km.T, right? And it's a rule in Middle Egyptian grammar that helps us say what Km.T is when it comes with the people and with the people glyph. And so you can see, I'm not going to discuss it there. I already discussed it there. So in short, the discussion really should not take place again until the errors in this written arguments are corrected. The book is reviewed by an editor and submitted for peer review, not simply for sale to the public, for the public at large does not have the skills, the information, all the information to negotiate the materials unless they have training or unless other reviewers or other people help. So until this takes place, their argument should be dismissed with prejudice. Now, this is not a personal conversation. This is not personal. You can still buy the book because I'm reviewing the book. A contribution to the debate and meeting of the place named Km.T, paperback. They published it April 23rd after the conference. So the book has been available to the public since April 23rd. It is now late July. So there has been a number of months that this book has been out. The book has not been reviewed. My review is pretty much the first, my critique first, and this review is the first review of the book in itself. It is not a review of the whole book, but it is a page 53 is the is the page in this particular chapter that pretty much dismisses and shows that there is some confusion in the book. There is some other issues, meaning there's a chapter one that doesn't exist. There's a chapter. Sorry, there's a chapter called preliminary that starts on a page one, which I can't find in the book. A page one. I don't know if that's the cover. I don't know when page one starts because it's not noted. Usually, the pages before the actual first page, the first page of the book is one, and then prior to that, you have the Roman numerals to talk about things prior to it, things possibly about the author and maybe a foreword or something like that, but it doesn't have a page one preliminary, and preliminary is spelled wrong in the case. The book will probably not show up in a library. There is lots of good information in the book, but it needs to be kind of triaged by expert scholars or looked at by expert scholars to see what the arguments are, to know exactly what the arguments are on this debate that we've been having on the meaning of the place name Kemet, or the origins and meanings of the place name Kemet. Where did Kemet derive itself from? And Dr. Shekanta Diop and Dr. Theophilo Benga, Dr. Mario Beatty, Necha Neb, myself have different thoughts than the authors in this particular book. But it's on sale. You can get it now, paperback, $19.95. You can there. It says that there's two new at $18.46. So it's available for less than the published price, $18.46. So that's a steal. There's one used book. Someone sent it back or is offering it for sale for $20.50. I'm pretty sure that there will be a lot of used books on the market from other people who have purchased it from Amazon who now want to resell it, and so the price will be up. I also think it's a collector's item because I think in this particular edition probably won't appear too often because of the errors, and so it will be a collector's issue, and so you might find it at one point for $200-300. So if you want to resell it, it's a great book to buy for the possibility of possibly reselling it later because it may be out of print. This particular version of it may be out of print for the reasons that I have noted. My name is Brother Reggie Mabry. You can find some of my thoughts and debates and on Black News 102, Sinetta Studios. You should be looking at Baba TV. Baba TV has also an extensive amount of information that I have put on. And you can look at Per Netter Research Group on Facebook and on YouTube for Netra Neb, who is the lead author or my lead on this concept. I came into this particular debate by being a researcher for Netra Neb. He is the lead thinker of this concept, so you can see his work. You can also see the lead author of this book, Asar Imhotep. He has a page, Asar Imhotep, on YouTube. So he has lots of presentations and arguments, places where he has been, where he's argued this. And you can also find what they have said about their work on Amin Ra Squad Media. Amin Ra Squad Media has lots of information about what they have said. And for a lot of recent information, you could look up Dagger Squad TV by my brother Garfield and his Dagger research team. And they are very, very good. I'm very, very proud of his group. I'm very proud of Brother Garfield coming into his own. I've debated Brother Garfield. I will tell everybody, if I debated Brother Garfield today, I would probably not win. His skill set has increased largely. He's a monster, especially when it comes to issues on the Hebraic faith. And then watching all of these channels will lead you to other scholar channels and other debaters and other people who have comments on this subject. I recently put a post about my critique on Dr. Leonard Jeffries' Facebook page. And there on Dr. Leonard Jeffries' Facebook page, he has a number of scholars, doctorates, PhDs, researchers, and other people who have followed Dr. Leonard Jeffries for over 50 years. People like Dr. Hunter Adams and other people, notables, find their way on Dr. Leonard Jeffries' page. He has a GoFundMe, drleonardjeffries.com. Please support my Baba. And I am so sorry if I left anybody out. This has been my review. This has been, I have tried to be fair and honest about. I am also available for critique of my own work. If I made a mistake, I will apologize. I have no problem saying that I was wrong. I will apologize, even in my own work, if I haven't footnoted something properly, but I haven't published anything except for my Black City Plan, which is in the form where I can edit it. So it's a digital book and it's for free. And you know, with that said, the book is available now. A contribution to the debate on the meaning of the place name Kemet. This conversation should be scholarly. It should not be a gang. It should just be an honest review of the work. And you could say that one person is right and another person is wrong. Most of the people who watch it don't have, who are watching. The majority of the people don't have, 4-year degrees or graduate degrees or doctoral degrees. And be mindful, if you don't have any of those degrees, it does not mean that you are not able to say what you have to say. But if the author is saying it, let the author say it, especially the lead authors. Let them say it, and you can agree with their points. The personality things, what a person looks like, how they speak, if they seem like they have money in their pocket, what their dress code is. All those things are irrelevant. What's irrelevant is that the book is a contribution to their debate, and I'm just trying to say that Chapter 2 dismisses their whole argument because of the errors. It's defective on its face. If it found itself in court, if you don't prepare court documents correctly, the case will be thrown out on its face. And with that, I was just hanging on to see if there was any other comments. Continue watching Baba TV, Fire Every Time, and all of these channels, Dagger Squad, Amin Ra Squad Media, Watch Asar, Imhotep, watch Black News 102, Sinetta Studios, and there are lots of other sites out there. Malcolm Flex that I like. I like young Malcolm Flex, Brother Ben. Uh, I like him. Brother Riza Islam. I like them. I just like people, young people who are thinking, and many of those young people who are thinking, they reach out to us to ask questions. There's a debate coming up, or a debate that's interesting to me with Zion Lex and Brother Garfield. Those are interesting because they have to deal with history, and those debates are very, very informative. There's also a lot of Hebrew channels that we watch. There is Lions of Israel. There is the Cross the Line with ISUPK. Why? Because we like to argue information. There's the Sakaris. There are a number of shows that are out there that you can watch, and you don't have to agree with them. You can disagree, but at least know what they're talking about. And if you're in this field, it gives you a chance to sharpen your skills. Shout out to Rob Bourne. It gives you a chance to sharpen your skills. Shout out to Asar and Ka. Asar and Ka is one of my research brothers on Nile Valley. Heckin watch his show. Heckin he's a beast when it comes to dealing with Meta Netcher. Brother Jabari, Netcher, Saber Jabari. He's a debater and a researcher and a Kemetic priest. There's of course, there's the Shrine of Anu, and then there's our great sabers. How could I? There's Infidisi Jehudimas, and Infidisi Jehudimas told me, he advised me. He said, Brother Reggie, do your review on the book, keep it scholarly, and basically you don't have to really continue this argument. You don't have to commit. You went on ASCAG. You don't have to continue. The younger people have they have the responsibility to look at the information and do it with good character. Support Dr. Riketti Amin. She has a YouTube learning center where she teaches Medunetia. Dr. Riketti Amin is our teacher's teacher. She received her PhD from the Oriental School of Linguistics, and she is of the best. And she has students like Brother Bonacci, and he does a lot of the heavy lifting. He is a great saber. There is Dr. Obadeli Cambone from the University of Ghana in Abibitumi. And of course, there's Howard University is one of our favorites, with Dr. Greg Card leading it. There's also, of course, the DIAP conference. There are lots of places and things that you can go to learn learn information about what's going on. Of course, there is the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilization. It is an international organization. Please join the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilization, and please do the work. There is Anko Online Journal. Anko Online Journal is run by the son of Shekanta Diop, and Dr. Theophilo Benga contributes, and Dr. Mario Beatty contributes, and Netcher Neb has submitted his paper for peer reviews there. There is also the Journal of Pan-African Studies. The founder, Brother Idabari, I'm going to call him Dr. Idabari. He's a SAW. He just recently passed, but there is, it will continue. You can find authors like Dr. Tyrene Wright there, and she's published a book. You can find Dr. Jahi Issa has published a book. I'm published in the Journal of Pan-African Studies. There's Dr. Salim Faraj, Dr. Salim Faraji. He is his book on the last pharaoh, on Faraji, Dr. Salim Faraji, excuse me. His book on the last pharaoh is an enormous book that everybody should have in their library. My brother Patrick DeLisis is a great Pan-African scholar. He's published in the Journal of Pan-African Studies and a number of places. Even has a chapter in a university peer-reviewed book, and he is a commentator on Dr. Leonard Jeffries' page. And there are many, 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 many more. I will review this if I left out anybody. Shout out to Shaka Amos. Shout out to Jonathan Owens. Shout out to everybody involved in Kemet on Trial. Shout out to everybody. If I've missed anybody, I did Kemet on Trial with Brother Polite. Shout out. That was one of the greatest conferences ever. Hosted by Black News 102, Sarnetta Studios. There's Brother Richard's channel, the Underground Railroad. There's the Pills. There are so many groups of people that are in this community. There is my brother Divine Prospect, who I love. They are giving Brother Divine Prospect an enormous amount of problems, but Brother Divine Prospect is my good brother. There are so many, many, many names. If I didn't mention it, I am sorry, but this will probably be my last presentation on this particular debate on the origin and meanings of Kemet, and hopefully at some point I'll get a chance to write something. Shout out to my elders, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, Rosalind Jeffries, Brothers James Small, my ancestors, Dr. John Henry Clark, and Dr. Joseph Benjo Cannon, Professor Edward Scobie. Shout out to all of the ancestors Dr. Felder, and all those people that we love that we don't have anymore, that have always been around us. And I apologize because I'm just talking that I'm missing names, but look, the book is available now, A Contribution to the Debate and the Meaning of the Place Named Kemet, paperback, April 23rd, 2019, by the research team, Shimshu Hero. See, I haven't said anything unacceptable. I just disagreed. So with that, peace and black power, Ankwaz Jed, Anku Jasaneb, Hotep, peace.